Dave Parody here with another Slide Makeover video podcast based on the ideas in my book, The Visual Slide Revolution. Today we're going to take a look at a problem that I see very common in presentations, which is where the presenter tries to put multiple messages on a single slide. And it's very hard for the audience to understand. In fact, it's hard for them to understand any of the messages. Here's the slide we're going to take a look at today. This is a slide that I found in an article I was reading about use of PowerPoint. And this is a slide that was used by a executive at JP Morgan. And the problem here is that there are multiple messages. One message he's trying to get across is the increase in sales production over this time period, 6 years. So that's one of the messages, and that you can see by the height of the various columns. But then what's happened is they have broken each of these columns into the components of what made up that sales production during that year. And then they try to say what the change has been on the right-hand side there. It becomes very confusing. There are two shades of green, which are very hard to distinguish, so you're not really sure, and those little squares at the top for the legend are very hard. It becomes very difficult for an audience to understand if you are putting multiple messages on a single slide. It's far, far easier if you split the two messages up. See, I think there are two messages. One is our sales production has increased. That's a good news story. The other message is how the components or what makes up that sales production has changed over the last 6 years. And by putting them on the same slide, we confuse our audience. They don't get either of the messages. Let's take a look at how you could redo this. So I started with the sales production message. So our sales production has increased steadily over the past 6 years. See, there's been a 94% increase in the last 6 years. What I did in this slide is I simply just mostly covered up each of those stacked columns with a solid color. So only thing that we focus on here is that increase in production. We get that message. It's very clear. I've added a call out, make it easy for us to understand that message. So we can talk about that message first with the audience. Then we move on to the second message, which is the product mix has really changed over the last 6 years. Let's take a look at the difference, the percentage change between second quarter 2010 and second quarter 2005. DDAs were up 28%. The real growth has come in this next section, convenience products. It has grown 525% over the last 6 years. That's dramatic growth. And then again, we can talk about each of these individually as we build them. We talk about savings are up 17%, our products there. Our credit card products are up 41%. The only area that is down are in investment and loans, and that's down 28% over the last 6 years. So with this slide, what we do is we have a second message which talks about the product mix, and by building it one by one, it allows us to discuss each of those product categories with our audience and talk a little bit more about why that is up or down and how much it's up or down. So before we get to the lessons that we learned from today's makeover, just a reminder, for more information on the book and get your own copy, go to www.visualsliderevolution.com. More information on my training workshops, consulting, videos, other resources, go to my main website at www.ThinkOutsideTheSlide.com. So our lessons for making multiple messages easier to understand. First of all, please realize that your audience gets confused when you put more than one message on a slide. They can't figure out which is the most important one, which parts are for which message, and in fact, they end up remembering none of the messages that you're trying to communicate. So instead, limit yourself to one message on each slide. Now, this actually makes it easier to present because you don't have to try to remember different things on a slide. There's only one message. The audience gets it. They go, okay, got that message. We can have a discussion on it if we need to. And then we can move on to the next point in the presentation. So one message per slide makes it easier for the audience, also makes it easier for you as the presenter. And somebody will say, but Dave, you're going to have a lot more slides. That may be true. But see, the point of a presentation is not the number of slides. That's actually not what matters. What matters is how effectively you communicate your message. That's what matters. What you want at the end is you want the audience to have understood your message, walk out there knowing exactly what they need to understand, do, act on, agree to, whatever the objective of your presentation is. And by getting rid of the multiple messages, one message per slide makes it easier for you to present, makes it easier for them to understand. So next time you're doing a presentation and you've got some questions about should I have more than one message on a slide. Remember these lessons. Limit yourself to one message per slide. Your presentation will be more effective. This has been Dave Parody with another Slide Makeover video podcast.